Hi everyone, Flaming Footy here and welcome back to another YouTube video on the channel. And today guys, here we are for a massive video on the channel. In this video, I'm going to be doing a very in-depth 2022 AFL Grand Final preview. I did one of these last year, was very happy with how it went and thought, you know what, let's do it again. Let's just go ahead, do it again for this year. And yes, pretty similar to last year's Grand Final preview, but this video is going to be absolutely massive. So let's not waste any time, go ahead, hop right into things. So, of course, no difference. We start off every preview reviewing the last week of footy. And, of course, last week it was the preliminary finals which set up the grand final week, of course. And there were two massive games to get two grand final spots. 4 teams, 2 grand final spots, so only 2 could get through. And here's how the results went. Geelong smashed the Lions by 71 points to earn a spot in the grand final. They comfortably got over the line, smashing them. And the Swans beat the Pies by just one singular point. The Pies made them work, but the Swans do well enough to take the second spot in the grand final, which of course has set us up for this grand final between Geelong versus Sydney. So Geelong, of course, we're going to be going over both teams' final series. And both teams actually did win in their qualifying final. But Geelong, they had a 13-game winning streak going into the finals, and they have now extended it out to 15. And if they happen to win the grand final, they'll make it 16. But they ended up beating the Pies in the qualifying final by 6 points to go ahead and book themselves in that preliminary final at the MCG. And against Brisbane, they beat the Pies by 6. And of course, as I just said, they went on to beat the Lions by 71 points to go ahead and seal a spot in the grand final. So Sydney did the same as Geelong as well. They won their qualifying final to go into a home prelim and then make it through the grand final. They beat Melbourne by 22 in the qualifying final, which at the time was a really big and important upset in the final series. Of course, how that one was going to play out. And the Swans got the job done by 22 points in the end. And it was a massive win for their finals campaign, their season. They did everything right in that game. They followed it up with a interesting performance, a good enough performance, though, in the end to get them over the line against the mighty Collingwood Footy Club. And then, of course, they made it through to the grand final at the MCG against the Cats. And should be an absolute cracking game, but both teams managed to win their qualifying finals and get through to a prelim, so it was only a 2-game finals series for both. Of course, the third being the grand final. Alright, so I have gathered some stats here for this AFL 2022 grand final preview. So I did the same last year with stats, and I've done the same this year. Some players that have ranked really high in the AFL for stats, not players that have ranked like 80th, players that have ranked really high. So we're just going to read them out. Geelong player stats. Tom Hawkins is first in the AFL for score involvements, 211. Jeremy Cameron is third in the AFL for score involvements, 183. Those two players are two players to really watch out for. Tom Hawkins is equal first in the AFL for goals with 64. Jeremy Cameron is second in the AFL for goals with 63. Got to watch out for them two spearheads up forward. Also got to watch out for Tyson Stengel, a really good pressure forward for Geelong as well. Tom Stewart is second in the AFL for marks with 178. He can take heaps of marks, can Tom Stewart. And then Tom Atkins is sixth in the AFL for tackles. I really did want to add him in there, and I did. He's ranked really highly. I feel like he's a very underrated Geelong player as well. I think he should be deserving to get a little bit more notice than what he does. I think he definitely flies under the radar. And being sixth in the AFL for tackles with 150 is a really nice achievement for him. So now to the Sydney player stats. Buddy Lance Franklin is 9th in the AFL for goals with 52. Isaac Heaney is 12th in the AFL for goals with 48. So some still really nice tallies for them too. Callum Mills is 2nd in the AFL for fantasy points. Now the way fantasy points works is towards the game AFL Fantasy. So that's where that comes from with 2,668, which means you've just pretty much put together an all-round good performance. James Robinson is 4th in the AFL for tackles, 157. Callum Mills 5th in the AFL for tackles, 155. Luke Parker is 11th in the AFL for tackles with 136. Sorry, my error, Luke Parker. It's meant to be Luke Parker. Is 8th in the AFL 4 contested possessions with 309. And now to some team stats. Geelong are second in the AFL for disposals, Sydney are 6th. Geelong are equal second in the AFL for disposal efficiency, Sydney are also equal second. Geelong are 6th in the AFL for tackles, Sydney are 7th. Geelong are second in the AFL for tackles, Sydney are 3rd. I don't know why there's 2 tackles on there. That'd be tackles inside 50. That one. Tackles inside 50 for the 2nd and 3rd. Geelong are second in the AFL for goals, Sydney are 4th. Geelong are first in the AFL for behind, Sydney are 2nd. Sydney and Geelong are equal first in the AFL for efficiency inside 50. Sydney are 4th in the AFL for tackles inside 50 and Geelong are 7th. I've got no idea why there's 2 tackles here. Sorry about that. That's a bit of another error. So these two teams only met once this year, all the way back in round 2, so there's not really a lot to go on here at the SCG. Sydney won by 30 points, 107 to 77, 17-5, 107 to 10, 17, 77. Now the Cats, they were inaccurate in this game, however, wouldn't be expecting that in the grand final. Of course, though, you would have been waiting for this moment. This was Buddy's 1,000th goal as well, happened in this game as well, so really memorable scenes there. And the Swans did own most of this game, really. At half-time, they had the game pretty much well and truly in their balance, and they just owned it throughout that second half. I'd be expecting the grand final to be a lot more closer. Again, there you can see Callum Mills with his fantasy points, Heaney with his goals. So you can see there a couple of the stats that I've gone over impacting this game as well. I'm not going to run through a lot of things about this game, but that was just a previous matchup this year that has led to the grand final. And these are the two teams that are going to be playing in the grand final. And, this was the most recent encounter they had. Alright, so now in just a moment, I'm going to be sharing the ultimate AFL 2022 grand final tip with you all. And then we're going to be having a look at the finals pathway before we wrap this video up. So, really exciting next couple of minutes coming up. So let's just go ahead, hop right into things. Alright, here we go. At quarter time, I have the scores being Geelong 3-2-20 to Sydney 4-1-25 at quarter time. Swans by 5. At half time, I have the scores being Geelong 7-5-47 to Sydney 7-3-45 at half time. Cats by 2. At three-quarter time, I have the scores being Geelong 9-10-64 to Sydney 9-6-60 at three-quarter time. The Cats by 4 heading into the final quarter. With 15 minutes to go, I have the Cats 9-12-66 and the Swans 10-7-67. The Swans by 1. With 10 minutes to go, I have the Cats 10-13-78. The Swans 10-8-68. Cats by 5. With 5 minutes to go, I have the Cats 11-14-80. The Swans 10-10-70. Cats by 10. With 2 minutes to go, I have the Cats 11-14-80. The Swans 10-11-71. Cats by 9. And at full time, I have the Cats 12-14-86 beating Sydney 10-12-72 by 14 points to win the 2022 AFL Premiership. There it is. Geelong are the 2022 AFL Premiers. They win the 2022 AFL Premiership in the 2022 AFL Grand Final. They win by 14 points against Sydney, but I am predicting it to be an absolute cracking game. Cats by 14 for me. And to go ahead and finish up the video, here is the AFL 2022 finals pathway. Here is how we got to the 2022 AFL Grand Final between Geelong and Sydney. Just going to recap the whole final series while we're here. Geelong beat the Pies by 6, 78-72. The Dockers in the first elimination final got over the Dogs 73-60 after making one of the best comebacks you'll ever see. The Lions 106 got over the Tigers 104 in this second elimination final at the Gabba, and then the Demons 69 lost to Sydney's 91 at the MCG in the qualifier number 2. In the semi-final number 1, the Pies 79 comfortably beat the Dockers, their 59, Pies by 20. The D79 was not enough for the Lions 92. They are out in straight sets. The Demons, the Cats, storm into the grand final with a thumping 71-point win over the Lions 120-49. The Swans overcome a very tough challenge of the Magpies by just 1 point after almost choking to get through the grand final. And here we are, the Cats and the Swans in the 2022 AFL Grand Final. Feel free to let me know what what your tip is in the comment section. Thank you guys all so much for watching. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe and hit that notification bell. So then you guys will never miss another video on the channel. Thank you guys all so much for watching. Bye everyone. Flaming Footy out.